Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV. Now today, another quick game of interplanetary ice spy, back to Gale Crater, back to Mars obviously, and we're looking at this area from Sol 1429. This particular part of the image, and this is a really nice Gigapan set of images by Neal Spence from Terraform Mars, who's done a lovely, nice, bright, big Gigapan with some really nice detail in here. He managed to clean these images up and make them nice and bright and cool to look at. And there's a couple of things in here which I'm going to show you today. And this is where we're looking, just here. Now, I've been over this image before in the past and completely missed this. So this goes to show that you can find things still, even though these images have been scoured over by many researchers, there's still many things to find that we're missing. I know there's lots of other things in this image which I haven't even touched on yet, but a lot of them are very small and a bit hard to say either way. Here's the raw image from NASA with the horrible puke filter over it, which makes it look brown and difficult to see. Unfortunately, this thing sticking up here is in quite heavy shadow, so the image needs to be brightened up quite a lot for you to see what's actually there. Let's zoom in just to prove that it's there. Now this has been brightened up already, as you can see, but obviously, when you look at it, to me, it looks very much like the carving of a horse. There's the nose, there's the eye, there's the eyebrow. The ears are kind of broken off. This may have come right out here. May have even had horns, don't know. Could have been some kind of weird creature that we haven't yet categorized. This is Mars after all. Now we shouldn't expect all the animals to look the same as ours, and they don't. But some of them do look similar and have similar characteristics. So they may have had a very similar kind of DNA thing going on Mars, where lots of creatures evolved in a similar way or ended up looking similar to ours. They may not have breathed the same sort of air. They may not have metabolized oxygen like we do, or stuff like that. So basically it's a horse. Now some may say it isn't. It may not be. It may actually be a depiction of some other very similar creature. It may be a donkey or an ass or something like that, or a Mars equivalent of a kind of domestic creature of some sort. But it does look very much like a horse, and if you look at the shape of it, you look at this shape here, as it comes round, you've got that same shape there, very similar. You've got the mouth coming round here, the lip, very similar to that. Nostrils, one there, one there. In fact, let's go in a bit closer so you can see this. It doesn't get any sharper when you zoom in, and it's a bit dark. Let's brighten the whole thing up a bit for you. It's a little bit dark for my liking. Let's go a bit dark, brighter. There we are. And you've got the brow there. There's another one there. There's a different angle to this, obviously. This one's kind of angled back the other way slightly. This one's more angled, sort of leaning slightly backwards and to the right by the looks of it. So it's listed a bit. But look at the eye. The eye is sort of more sort of almond shaped and comes up like that. Very strange. Much like many of the other creatures I've seen in this area, many of them carved, many of them actual fossils. They've got quite long, sort of elongated eye sockets, a lot of them. So there we are. Look at that. Look at the detail. I mean, it's got nostrils. It's got a mouth with the lip there. You've got the other sort of lower lip there. You've got the upper lip there with the mouth. It's really similar to this. Now, I did spend a bit of time sifting through horse images to find one that was in a similar aspect and angle to this. It's not the same colour, obviously, but there we are. I mean, I really don't see what else this can be. Absolutely amazing. I was really pleased when I found this. I haven't found that many animals in this area. Most of them are sort of actual specimens, it seems, and most of the carvings and statues are of people of all different shapes and sizes. Some of them very large, some very small, and lots of burial figurines have been found. I do think there was a lot of burials in this area. There were buildings here. I think a lot of this these things, that these so-called buttes that NASA call them, are actually burial mounds and ruined buildings, perhaps temples, and this, I would have thought, may even go right down into the ground here, and there may be a complete statue of a horse. Wouldn't that be beautiful if we found a whole one exposed? Unfortunately, we've got all this rubble and dust and sand that's covered it up, and it's all kind of slid down off the top here. But a lot of this would have been blown up against this butte or ridge, or whatever you want to call it, ruined building, I prefer. A lot of this sand and dust would have blown up against it, and also because Gale Crater is so deep, it's over 3 miles deep. Whenever there's a big sandstorm on Mars, a lot of the sand and dust will end up kind of floating down into this crater. So there are many, many feet of dust and sand burying a lot of these things. And unfortunately, most of the statues I found, we've only got the heads to look at, and they are buried up to the neck, like this thing. Just the way that the erosion is working in Gale Crater. And the only reason a lot of these are even still intact is because they're partially protected by these mounds and big rocks and ruins everywhere. So that's why it's still there, and why it's still bolt upright like that. I'm amazed I didn't spot this before. I really am. It's absolutely incredible. The way it stood there is insane. Absolutely insane. So do have a look at this Gigapan by Neal Spence. It's one of my favourites, this. There is something else that I published the other day on my backup channel down here on this one. So go to the other part of the pan down here, and here's the Mars book that I coined as the book. Now, it may not be a book, but it's shaped like one, and it's got an emblem on it. Some people have said the emblem looks like a dragon, or an Arabic kind of alphabetical letter or something. Maybe, maybe not. Impossible to say, really. To me, it looks more like a Tibetan kind of alphabetical figure, but not quite. I haven't found a match for it. It's kind of like an E or an M. And so I got that on my other channel. In fact, I found this years ago. I found this about 3 or 4 years ago. And what I did is I republished that old video on my backup channel, which is this one, just here. And it's doing rather well at the moment. I published it a few days ago, and it's like 13,000 views now, which isn't bad for a small channel like this one. And it goes into a bit more detail here, so do check that out. So you can go to Space Detective 1 and check that out. So that was it, really. I will show you some clips of some of the other animals that I've found in the area. I won't go through them all now because I'll put them in at the end, but this was one of my favourites. This is what seems to be a carving or figurine of a cat. You can see the eye there quite clearly. You've got a downturned mouth. This is also a bit dark. And there's another little head next to it with 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth with teeth, and a chin with floppy ears, like a little dog or something. So there were dogs and cats and all sorts. I've shown lots of remains of these in the area as well, especially dogs. And there were little pigs, and there were rodents, and there were apes, and there were what seems to be big reptiles like dinosaurs. But of course, they may not have all lived around at the same time. Many of them may have died out millions of years ago, and some of them may be more recent. It's impossible to say. The preservation is so good in the area, even though it's very windy, that the lack of air pressure means that the erosion takes a very long time. So some of these things may be millions of years old, and were probably burial items like this cat thing here, that's like a part of a figurine, and there's probably the rest of it below, or it's just broken off. You know, there's loads of these things. This was a cool one as well. Don't even know what this is, and it's like a giant mouse or something. Funny that. So that giant mouse I found years ago that everyone butchered me for, turns out that there are carved ones and animals all over the place. So it may actually be a real mouse, but not a living mouse, an actual carving of a mouse. In fact, there may be a matching one for this that is round the other way, which is actually this may be a matching one of a pair, And the giant mouse which I thought was an optical illusion, which went viral years ago, and everyone went crazy about, including the TV companies, may actually be a mouse, but not a living one, a carved one like this. You've got a big round eye, you've got a big ear, you've got a funny smiley mouth, nostrils, kind of chunky looking snout there, and it comes right back like that. So maybe that giant mouse that I published years ago was actually what I said it was, is just carved and not an optical illusion. There are lots of these things in the area, and I've managed to find some of them up close. There's also this little thing. I don't even know what this is. I don't know what sort of creature it is. It doesn't represent anything I've ever seen. So answers on the postcard with that one. So leave comments below if you think you might know what some of these things might be. There's a cat, one of my favourites. It may be a type of lion. So that was cool. It's even got whiskers, it seems. Very intricate carving going on here, and I think some of these carvings may have even been painted, like the ancient Romans and Greeks used to do. They used to paint their statues. They're not all white and washed out, like you see in the museum. And there, of course, was the giant Sphinx, which I found years ago, which is probably the biggest carving of all. That's about 225 feet long, which is about the same size as the one in Egypt on Earth, and has a very interesting head with a bald patch. Very cool. So check that out. There will be links to a lot of this stuff at the end, of course. So there we are. That's about it for this. Let's have another quick look at this a minute. I'll just show you one more time the horse, the eye detail here, cheek coming round, the mouth, nostrils. Snout goes all the way up to there. We've got another eye here, it seems. It's there. So it's a bit sort of leaning back, so we're not seeing it completely straight. Perhaps I should have rotated it a bit more to the left here or something. But look at the weird sort of ear structures here coming down. That's really odd. So that's insane. Very interesting. So this may well be stylized, but it may also represent a different type of creature, or just a different breed. You know, it could be a more sort of prehistoric type. Who knows? Who knows what it represents? And we don't know how accurate many of these carvings are. I think on the whole they are fairly accurate. Why wouldn't they be? Some of them do look quite stylized, but maybe some of the creatures were just really weird, and they were actually showing them as they looked. Pretty crazy, I know, but this is how we get to understand the people on Mars, through the way they depict the animals that live there. And then we also get to understand the ecosystem on Mars by looking at the different types of animals, how they relate to each other, how they may have survived, what type of food they may have eaten. Of course, certain types of animals are vegetarian, and I have found remains of dinosaurs in the area which probably ate these things and may have eaten the people as well. But we don't know the timeline of these creatures and whether they overlapped or not, and whether they lived at the same time. That's the key to unlocking the food chain and the civilization of Mars. We can work it all out from these finds on the ground. Not just the art, but the fossils and remains and objects that were found everywhere, and ruined, wrecked vehicles and buildings everywhere. This is how we get to know, and there may be written records in some of these mounds and buried underneath some of these things, and inside some of the buildings that I've shown, like the big dome. Perhaps that giant Sphinx may have records written on tablets or something inside it, underneath it. There may be loads of tunnels and chambers underneath these structures as well, like we have in Egypt, which could be full of artwork and treasure. Untold treasure there could be. Absolutely incredible. Just imagine what might be there. There's lots of gold artifacts that have been found in the area by me and many other people, lots of other researchers. So that was it really for that. Now, whilst I'm here, I'm just going to give a shout out to this channel. Now, this video came up yesterday, and I noticed this on Facebook and someone mentioned it. And this is a friend of mine who I've been following for a while now, called Gene Ward, and he's a very good researcher who does satellite images of Mars and looks at some amazing kind of megalithic structures and objects on the ground, like this, and has done some really, really good work, and he's basically been blocked from Facebook from sharing his videos. Now somebody must have flagged this guy because he hasn't broken any guidelines whatsoever. There's no weird content or anything dodgy in this video, like mine. You might get the occasional swear word in my videos, but that's it. And this guy is clean. He's not doing anything wrong, and Facebook have blocked him, which I think is outrageous. So somebody must have flagged this guy for some nefarious, sinister reason. In fact, I said that in the comment below here. Somebody out there must have flagged your content. It breaks no guidelines at all. So it must have been for more sinister reasons. Let's get you some more subscribers and over the 1,000 hurdle, blah blah blah. So you can check this out. You can read all this, and you'll find out what's going on. I think there's something very suspicious going on here, and somebody's flagged him for being vindictive, which I think is out of order. So what I'm asking you to do, I'm going to put links below in the description, and at the top of the comments there'll be a link to this video or his channel, and you can click on that and go and subscribe, because he's got almost 1,000 subscribers now, and if we get this guy over 1,000, then hopefully his videos will be pushed a bit more by YouTube, and he will start seeing a bit more activity on his channel, and things will start looking up a bit. I don't like seeing other researchers being crapped on by companies that are run by a-holes like Zuckerberg. And in fact, he doesn't even run the company. He's just a figurehead and may not even be human. Have you ever seen him trying to drink a glass of water? The guy can't even drink water. You know, is he some kind of android like some people have said? Probably not. I'm kind of kidding a bit here, but the guy is very sinister, and some of the people that work for these companies are also very sinister, and there's something rather strange going on, and they seem to be treating the people like rats for some reason, you know, and I don't like seeing good honest researchers like Gene here being crapped on by these people. So let's go and help him out. I put some posts up on some various groups here to get people to go and help him out, and this is why I'm saying it now. So please go and help him. I don't want this guy to give up, because I like his videos. He's got some valuable content, which I think is important to the community. So I want the community to go there and help this guy. Give him a thumbs up, subscribe, give him some support, give him some moral support, because we don't want to lose him, okay? Some of these things may turn out to be incredibly important and really make a difference in the struggle against these big tech giants and people who want to take over not just this planet, but Mars, okay? So, food for thought there. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you soon.